Welcome everyone, it's great to have your company. It's Jarth of Medieval Mirage. Thank you for joining me. When I was talking about gold foiling just recently, when I was releasing my volume 4 and volume 5 of the Silhouette kit, I did an overview of what was in the kit and did a bit of a run through so that you could get a feel for what you can do with that kit and the endless possibilities. I kept talking about an introduction video. What I actually meant to say was an instructional video. So there's already an introduction, a very kind of overview introduction. I will list that below. It's been in my YouTube channel since last year, approximately around April or so. It was released, or roughly about that time of 2020, I think it was. Boy, my days have blurred into one. I guess it's the same for everyone. But that really is the introduction, and I have got videos going back that time where I kind of enlarge on that. But this video is not the introduction. It's the instructional video. That's what I meant to say. So a huge apologies for that. Anyway, so the Silhouette kits, there's volume 1 to 5, and there will be another couple of volumes coming as well. I just think they're so versatile and there's just so many possibilities, and I just wanted to talk a little bit in depth with you guys as to how to get the best out of them and what you can do. Okay, so what I thought we'd start off with is just again letting you guys know that the Silhouette kit lends itself to two types of printers. A laser printer is what you can use, just a black and white laser printer is what you can use to create these magical pieces that I've got here. And of course I will also list below the video that talks about what you see in front of me. I go through them so you can have a feel for the kit and what it can look like when you use tracing paper or just plain paper or already coffee or tea stain paper like this one here. So I've just all I did was I printed this on plain white paper. I used the laser printer to print this out. I did my gold foiling, and then afterwards I tea stained it, or coffee tea stained it, and that's the beautiful results that you can get. So for the laser printer is where you can do your foiling. If you've got a laser printer, you won't be able to achieve the faded and frayed method. Okay, you won't be able to achieve this method at all. This is for inkjet printers only, because you want to get that bleeding effect for the coffee tea staining. And for those of you that might have missed out on this tutorial, I will link that below as well. The faded and frayed method is what you need to achieve these beautiful looks for the Silhouette kit. Now, I also wanted to show you this as well. So, can you see a little bit of some illumination? So I'm going to just try and move it around. It's a little bit hard to know if you can actually see much in this lighting. You can see a little bit better. Can you see how around the borders of the image you're getting kind of like an illuminated look? Okay, and I'll just do this one as well. And then this one here. Okay, so the kits I'm using are volume 4 and 5 of the Silhouette kit, but you can use any of my Silhouette kits for something similar, but you would need to be strategic as to which you would choose. These ones are more of a border effect, which will allow for this kind of use. Now, these do not come, these picture decorative pages do not come with the Silhouette kit. This one here is from my Ruby Red Sheen and Emerald Green kit. These two here, that one and this one from the Emerald Green and Ruby Red Sheen kit. And this one is from my Owls and Raptors. So I'll put them below if you're interested with these kits as well. This one here is a little bit more vintage, only because the paper I used is only treated on one side and it makes it cheaper. So if you only need one-sided paper, get a one-sided treated presentation paper to get these results. But you might be happy with just that vintage look if you're going to use both sides. And this is double-sided treated paper, presentation paper. That's why they're nice and rich and vibrant. Okay, now I've shown you this because if you have an inkjet printer, you are absolutely able to overlay the Silhouette kit onto your already printed out images that you've done with your inkjet printer. And if you have a laser printer or go to an office supply place, then you can absolutely overlay whatever image you want from the Silhouette kit over the top, and then you can bring it home and do your foiling. And these are the beautiful results that you can get. Sometimes you might get a little bit of kind of thread, golden thread through. That can just only be due to the laminator picking up some gold that's been left over as residue. I think for me personally, it just adds to the magic of the image. So that could be sometimes, I don't know, it can be just a fluke. Sometimes even the way the papers crease up. Yeah. I'll have to try and explain it when my brain is working a little bit better. It's not tonight, I'm afraid. Okay, so for those of you that have a laser printer and that's all you have, you would not be able to achieve this. Why? Because if you're printing, say, this beautiful decorative design, and then you overlay the black and white on top after you've printed this piece, it will just gold foil everything because of the toner. It's the toner that activates the gold, and therefore the entire page would be foiled, whatever color foil you're using. So this is why only those with an inkjet printer can get away with doing this. As long as you have a laser black and white, then you can overlay the images and get beautiful results that way. Now the other thing you can use is tracing paper to do your laser printing with your gold foiling. Now you can use any type of tracing paper. I do recommend the 90 GSM only because it has a bit of a sturdiness to it and it won't wrinkle up when you're putting it through your printer or laminator or your heat machine. So that's basically the one that I use. It's still beautiful, transparent, but it's a little bit hard wearing. And all you would need to do is, you know, make sure it's nice and flat. Always make sure your edges are always flat when you're threading anything through your printers, because you don't want to jam your papers. So make sure it's nice and flat. And then once you've done that, you just put it through your printer, lay down whatever image, then go into your lamination. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so that's for your gold foiling or multicolored foiling. What I recommend is 90 GSM. You don't have to purchase this. It can be purchased by any other company. As long as they're transparent, you should be fine. But this is the one that I've just purchased recently to replace the ones that I've already used. And I find that really, if they're 90 GSM, it doesn't matter what company you get them from. I'll just put that there just in case you were wondering about the one that I got. This is where mine comes from. But as I say, they are basically the same no matter what company. Some are much more reasonably priced than others, so shop around and get what suits your purse pocket as well. Okay, now when you're using tracing paper to make sort of pockets, that is from the Silhouette 4, when you're making these type of pockets in your journals, okay, and then we'll be talking about how to make our own washi tape and our stickers. This one's a little bit different. There's the other one. Okay, so when we're making our envelopes, I haven't stuck this one down, but when we're making our envelopes, see, this is how I've assembled this one here. So assembling the tracing paper. Now, just wanted to mention a couple of things. So the best thing that I have absolutely found when you're using tracing paper because tracing paper can be very hard to adhere and for it to actually last the distance. I have personally found that getting extra sticky tape, the red one, and it doesn't go down red, it's just so that you can distinguish the invisible from, you know, because they're double-sided score tapes. I have found that these are the best. They really are. And you can get them in all sorts of sizes in width. So I like to use these when I'm making the envelopes. I didn't do that one with this one. I did this with this one here. So I like to do that with the envelopes, and I will have tutorials coming as to how to do the washi tape, the envelopes assembly, the pocket assembling, and the stickers. So please make sure you stick around for those when I release those videos. But these are fantastic. And what is great about them is that you can get them really thin or thick. So if you're doing washi, great for washi. You can use them side by side in lengths to do your stickers, or thin ones for anything a little bit more precise and a little bit more of a narrow use. The reason why these are good, they not only stick, but they don't wrinkle your tracing paper. So you'll have to be prepared with a little bit of wrinkling. It's not that bad. I don't know if you can sort of pick that up there with a little bit of the wrinkling here where I've glued it. And sometimes you can see a little bit of the glue line. That's the only thing. If you don't want a glue line, you will kind of get a strip along there. But that's the nature of tracing paper. It's something that you can't sort of avoid. Well, not that I'm aware of. If you've got any ideas or tips, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for that. Okay, so now the glue that you can use, I do have art glitter glue, but I haven't got it with, oh, here we go. So art glitter glue is pretty good, but what I have found personally is I love this one. Why? Because you can have a chiseled, is it a chiseled? A broad tip and a fine tip. Great for your washi tape strips or larger stickers, and great for the intricate things for your envelopes. Fantastic stuff. It's clear and it does a terrific job, but it does wrinkle those edges. But you know, honestly, it's handmade, so it's absolutely fine. But I think they're amazing. So this is Tombow Mono Liquid Glue Aqua. You can get it in the white, but for this tutorial I think it's great to go for the clear. And this is these people here. If I just put that there. But anyway, you can pick them up in most online craft shops. So yeah, any score tape will do. You'll need to just experiment. If you don't have these glues, please don't worry too much. Just try whatever you've got on hand. Just do a test. And what I mean by a test, just when you've cut out these, so say for example you cut this out, you'll have a lot of leftover pieces. Use those pieces and stick them together with whatever glue. Write down the name of the glue, get your score tape, stick them together, leave them for about 24 hours, then see if you can pull them apart. If they just slip apart, well, obviously that's not good, but if there's firmness, then you're good to go. Okay. Alright, so that's with the tracing paper, but you don't have to use these kits with tracing paper. You can do them with, say for example, you could do the envelope tracing and you could have the journal card, you know, solid underneath with just cheap printer paper. That's all I've used, cheap printer paper, to get these results. Yeah. And as we have here, okay, so with these, again, these are just done on lightly tinted coffee tea stain paper. You don't actually have to use just the tracing paper. You can do it on that, or as I showed you earlier, the coffee and tea stain paper. That you can do afterwards, so it won't wash it away. You can do that afterwards, and sort of dip it into your coffee tea staining and then let it dry, and you'll get these beautiful results. Or you can do it the other way. You can coffee tea stain your papers, make sure the edges are flat, put it through your laser printer, and then you can gold foil it. Either or either. After you've laser printed, you can coffee tea stain, or before. Just always remember your edges when you're putting anything through. Make sure they're flat so that you don't get any jamming. Alright, so now save your you know, your Serene wraps or your plastic wraps, because these are great for your foils. They make it easy for them to be pulled out and cut to whatever size you wish along that serrated edge. Okay. The thing about foiling is you will need a hot machine. So there are machines that are made for gold foiling. If you have them, great. If you don't, you can use your own laminators. I have an A3 one, and it was probably under $30 Australian a couple of years ago, and it's lasted me the distance. I'm really happy with it. It doesn't have any kind of heat settings except cool and hot. I would recommend the hottest setting if you're using a laminator, and that's really important because it activates the toner, and that's where we get the gold or the foiling adhered. You can get any colors, foils that you like. It doesn't have to be gold. You can mix and match the colors together as well so that you get a variety of colors. Yeah, so now the foil that you need is not regular foiling. It's not transfer foil. You need heat activated foil, or heat reactive foil. So please make sure you recognize this. That is important because you are doing an outlay with your purse, and you want to make sure you get the right one. Now, remember, heat activated or heat reactive. That's what you're looking for. Now, Heidi Swapp does a beautiful range, and I know Deco Art does, but sometimes you can get no-name brands as long as they are heat activated or they're toner based. It says something like they work with toners and laser printers, and that they work with a laminator. That is what you're looking for. Now, you may use an iron as long as it's a high setting, and you have baking paper par, and you're foiling a sandwich between baking paper, and then go ahead and do it. Make sure you don't burn yourself or your house down. So again, disclaimer, you've got to be safe, and you can use a hair straightening iron as long as you don't burn yourself. Make sure your papers that you're working on are sandwiched between baking paper. Really important, because then you won't sacrifice your fingers or your surface or your item that you're using. But laminator is what I use, and yeah, or if you have a heat machine. You're going to need, if you don't have the proper heat machine, you're going to have to kind of experiment with your carrier papers. Now, I have put my stuff through the laminator without a carrier sheet, but that's when what will end up happening is it will leave a bit of gold behind, and this is where the gold will be on the laminator, and you will get it sort of spreading itself out very prettily, I must add, across some of your images. If you like that, great, but if you don't, then you're really going to make sure you have a carrier sheet. Now, sometimes the carrier sheet might not, you might need to trim off the edges, because if the gold goes through without the sheet, again, it could transfer onto something else. Now, I don't mind that for me at all, but if you do, then you'll need to make sure your gold is within the parameters of your carrier sheet. Now, you don't have to use a carrier sheet, but I do recommend it because it can jam your laminator. It might be different from a heat machine, and obviously different for an iron and a hair straightener. You've got more control. But once you're feeding something in, it's really hard to pull it out of the laminator. It's just going to roll it through. So a carrier page folded in half, you're going to make sure your laminator, where you're feeding it in, you do it on the fold. You're not going to do it this way, because it can easily go that way, and oh my goodness, that's a drama you don't want, believe you me. I have had one jam and it's not fun. I was able to rescue the papers, but yeah, please be careful. So always feed it through the folded side. Now, when you're using tracing paper, you want to make sure that you use something that's 80 GSM or less as your folded carrier page. Now, this is A3 paper, folded in a half. It's A4, so therefore it's really perfect for when you're using your gold foiling. Now, when you're going to put your foil on the top, so say for example this is where your image is, and you'll know the difference because when you print it out, there will be writing on either side of the page. If it's the reverse, it'll be backwards, but on the front of the page you'll see writing. Now, if there's no writing, so you know it's the right way up when you can see silhouette 4 or silhouette 5, then you know that this is where you're going to put your foil on the top, and always the shiny side on top. Now don't worry too much if you get it wrong and you have it on the reverse. Nothing will happen. You're not going to lose anything but time. That's all. And there'll be pages that won't have any writing, but you can actually tell the difference because one side will be darker than the other. And it's the darker side that has the toner. And that's where you once have your image there. You're going to place that on top, cut it off, and then you're going to make sure you have everything lined up so everything is covered. You're going to fold it, and then you're going to feed it through with the folded side through. Okay, I do go over this in my introduction, so if you want to know more about that, please watch that one. It'll be listed below. Any of the tutorials that I mention or the kits that I'm using, they'll be listed below. So I'm sorry, inkjet users, we are coming to you very, very soon. Please don't worry, we're getting to you. Okay, so with light paper, it's important to have a heavier carrier page because that will stop this from creasing. And if you make sure that this isn't creased when it's going through, sometimes it will crease. You can't help that, but that's okay because you get a distressed look anyway. But if you're wanting to make sure you always have something crisp, make sure each of your papers are fresh. If you start seeing crease lines like this, it will transfer that crease line onto your piece, and that will mean you might get a streak that hasn't got the gold foil, but that gives it that distressed look. So that's the only thing to keep on the watch for. I think the coming tutorials will show you that, so please stay tuned for those that are coming. You need the firmer paper. This is 80 GSM printer paper, cheap. The firmer it is, it will stop it from creasing. That's what you're looking for. But if it's too heavy, the cardstock, you may not be able to activate the toner because there's too much insulation. And if there's too much insulation, you'll get a patchy kind of effect, or it might still have a lot of black rather than the color you're trying to foil it with. So that's why keep an eye on it. So you can go as low as 60 GSM, 70, 80 for the tracing paper. If you're going down lower, it could start creasing things. But yeah, 80 GSM is pretty okay, unless you want to go to 100 and then you're sure that you won't get that kind of creasing effect. So if it creases, get some new paper and just maybe 100 or 120 GSM. Any higher than that, it's insulating it and you're not going to get the great effect. You might have to do it a few times through the laminator if it's not releasing the gold. Now, however, when you're using just plain paper, okay, so say you've printed, okay, so you just use this one. So say you've, you don't have tracing paper, but you want to do everything on plain printer paper for those of you that have a black and white laser. Okay, now this is really important. You're going to have to switch to a lower grade or weight of paper. So if you don't know what 80 GSM is, I recommend that you go to Google and do a conversion. So just write 80 GSM, convert into pounds, paper weight, and that will give you the rough equivalent. This is GSM, plain printer paper. Okay, and just show you what that looks like. Plain printer paper. Okay, so you've got your image there. You're going to put your foil. And what I have found personally, what I use is the baking paper. Now you might choose to double it up, or if you've got maybe a 60 or 50 GSM paper, that you can thread it through as your carrier piece, the better. Because again, anything too heavy, because this is heavy too, it's insulating it and the toner won't be activated and the foil won't adhere, and so you'll get either something patchy or it doesn't work at all. So that's what you've got to remember. So for heavier paper like GSM, you need a lighter carrier paper, and I use baking paper. Now sometimes again the baking paper will crease, and that can affect the impression it leaves behind here. It might crease up the gold foiling and it might sort of give that distressed look. So that's what you've got to just be experimenting with until you get it right. So yeah, 60 GSM, maybe 50 might be better for whatever you're using it for. So heavier paper needs a lighter carrier paper, but experiment. You might be able to get away with the 70 or 80 GSM, and that can be absolutely fine, or even 100. It just depends on how well you can heat things up. Your laminator might be hot enough and it doesn't matter. But for those of you that are using the tracing paper, then a heavier piece like this is better, because it won't sort of wrinkle this up or cause any issues. What can you use these for? Okay, decorative journal pages. Anything that you want to just throw in a bit of color, where it be gold foiling or teal or magenta. There's so many colors out there in the heat activated and reactive foils. Beautiful color range, and you can even get rainbow colors as well, and you can get all sorts of effects on them. You can get some gold that's absolutely blinding and other gold that's a bit more muted, with other colors as well. So if you don't want something too robust and glaring, there are muted choices out there. So you can do a boho theme. So for example, I've got a kit coming up that's going to have colored jewel papers. When you can get these really kind of boho looks to your papers, you can get that look for your alphabet from the Silhouette range. Yeah, so I'll be providing these. Hopefully they'll be in the shop by the time I get uploaded, but excuse that line across there, it won't happen to you. This is my printer. I'm having a bit of issues with my printer, but you'll be able to do you will be able to, for those of you that use inkjet printers, you can use these if you have a laser printer, but you won't be able to gold foil over them. But for those of you that do have an inkjet printer, you can overlay with the Silhouette kits and get these kind of sari boho looks. And then of course these ones is making your own kind of trims, boho trims, sari trims, with Silhouette Volume 5, your own washi stickers, which you'll see us make soon. And we've got some colors like this coming, and yeah, and there'll be other stuff coming which I'll go into when they get released. You can make your own boho sari papers for your journals that are gypsy or bohemian. Medieval, Renaissance, Celtic, anything that's historical and ancient, you can use the gold foiling for. Victorian, Jane Austen, Baroque, Rococo, fairy tale themes, bridal showers, any special occasion or event. You can use it for wedding guest books, wedding journals, anniversaries or balls and masquerade events. Honestly, you know, it's just your imagination can run wild using these beautiful magical pieces that create that illuminated world that is just so magical, and it just feels like you're entering into a fairy tale story. Okay. But for those of you that like black and white themes, then absolutely use them on black and white themes. Yeah, and I mean, you might just like hints of gold here and there. So you might like to edge your pieces with just some of these little the trims, and you get a real huge range of trims and cornices and stickers and stuff like that, just to make those journal pieces really special. Okay, so that's what you can do with a laser printer, everyone, and black and white. So if you don't have any, so that's from volume 5. If you don't have any laser printer, you might have a friend, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So that's it for the laser printer people out there. But look, I'm sure you can pick something up secondhand inexpensively if you're really wanting to go down this path of playing around with this. It really is a magical journey. It really is beautiful, and you can make them with any colored foils. Okay, all right, so we talked about the glues. One thing I forgot to mention was you can also buy, this is from Express It. Oh, that's who they are. Okay, so I got this again from some online shop. I can't remember which one now, but this is double-sided, and this is what you can also use to make your own washi and your own stickers. So there's this, and there's these, and these glues. Now, again, you don't have to, and I'm not affiliated with anyone, but these guys here, they're what I've got, and they're what work best for me. You might have something else. If you do use anything else and you want to share, please leave a comment below so that others can benefit. And for all of you that are watching, please share this video with others, because it really is a beautiful journey into creating your journals in a different way. I'm all about kind of approaching the traditional way of doing things with a different approach, an alternative version, or just a different look to your journals that you may not have experimented with before. Okay, so that's those. So those of you that just have inkjet printers, what can you do? What can you do so that you too can benefit from not only the gold foiling, okay, but also the faded and frayed? Well, you're in a really good position because a lot of office supply places use laser printers. I'm not sure about inkjet for those of you that are laser user printers, whether there's inkjet printers out there. You'll have to investigate, but you might have friends. So for those of you that want to overlay on already colored paper, you might need a friend that's an inkjet user. But for those of us that are inkjet, and I'm one of them, even though I have a black and white printer, what you can do is go to a friend that has laser printer and overlay everything. But this is what I recommend. Okay, so why not print out all your images that you want to gold foil? Why not print them out? You're going to go to that trouble. Why not print them out on just plain printer paper? 80 GSM is fine. It's plain. It's totally up to you. All right, so you're going to print them out black and white, but here's this tip. When you're printing out, to get the ink bleeding effect that you see here, don't change your settings to black and white. Just keep them as color. Print them out as color. I do them high because that allows for this to release the ink, and you get these beautiful results. That's what I would recommend that you do. So print out whatever you want, plain printer paper. It doesn't have to be colored or anything like that unless you want it to be. So if you want to have just plain color like this, which will be coming into my shop, hopefully by the time this is released, these kits will be available where you get beautiful dual toned colors. Print them out, but just print out the paper, this. Okay, and I'll explain it in just a minute. So you're going to print out black and white, your inkjet printer, and you're going to have 2 manila folders. You're going to have one folder that says inkjet printer, and you will have all your papers that you've printed out in that file. And you're going to have an empty one that says laser printer, so that you keep them apart so that you don't confuse yourself. Now you may, if you want tracing paper, you may need to either purchase at the office supply place or take this with you. Make sure you let them know at the door so that they don't think you've stolen it, or you know, or you can just pull out how many of these you need. Now you may need a little bit of assistance if you're deciding to print on tracing paper. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. So you're going to take your tracing paper if you need it, maybe have it already cut up, unless they provide it. They could provide it, or you could purchase it at the shop. So you'll have your inkjet papers in your file, and then you're going to have your empty one ready to put your papers in that you're going to scan. So you're going to get your image, you're going to scan it, print it. Make sure it is a laser scanner printer. Okay, that's what you want. Then just do the whole lot, making sure you keep the papers separate. As soon as you've done one scan, you're going to put it straight into your file and just keep repeating the process. And then when all the papers are done, put them in the laser printer, in your laser printer file. So you'll have 2 files. So let's keep that simple, just 2 files. So when you get home with the laser printer, you are now ready to use your heat machine, your iron, your straightener, or your laminator to do your gold foiling. You are set. Now with the other papers, now you might want to just have them black and white. Go for it. But if you don't want black and white, then you can do the faded and frayed. And this is what it looks like. I mean, you know, so you can do everything. You can do your envelopes, faded and frayed, journal cards, the works. And it just produces the most incredible results. You can even do this after you've dried your papers. You can create that kind of look. Okay, so and see, this is where you get that Princess and the Pea effect. So you get that envelope, so you don't have to do the tracing paper envelope. And see, it's lined up at the back. You don't even have to line it. And then you'll need to make sure you line your pages up well so that you can get as much of this in as possible. But you can see what I mean. It just keeps on giving. So it's almost like you're duplicating it, but it's getting more faded and distressed as it goes along. So this is what it is like full on. And if you find that this is too full on, once it's dried, just get some water, lay a few pieces between, say you've got a boring coffee tea stain paper, and just spray it, and it will just once again start making it patchy and distressed, and it will release more of the ink. But yeah, so these are just some of the papers from volume 4 and volume 5. It just has such an exciting range. See, look at that. It's kind of like that faded blue, and then a khaki green with that vintage brown. You can do them on large scale papers as well. So this is what is called the Faded and Frayed. And for those of you that haven't been able to find lace, plastic lace, to do the plastic lace in limited space, well, here you go. You have tons of patterns to create something really special and pretty. Yeah. So, and these are some of the pockets that you can cut out and use. But what I recommend is, I forgot to do this, you're just going to cut that away so that you don't have sort of a, you know, the wording of the kit and it letting you know what it is. But yeah, and you can do your journal cards that way. Now, how to actually get this look with these papers. If you want to do this, there will be a tutorial listed below. I have filmed myself making these papers in a couple of previous ones, so if you wanted more of an up-to-date one, more recent than the one that I've already put in there, just let me know in the comments below. But basically what you do is, with your black and white image from the Silhouette kit, you make sure that you have plain paper, just plain cheap printer paper, 80 GSM or what have you, and make sure you sandwich it between plain paper. So you'll have, say, this is your image, it's black and white on one side, and then you're going to layer it, say 3 or 4 high, maybe 5, and 3 or 4 or more below. And as it sinks lower and bleeds, you will find it will start fading and the colors will change, and it's just magical. So it just really creates a beautiful appearance, as you can see here. It's just beautiful. You can go really grungy, or you can go light with your coffee tea staining, or more grungy. It lends itself to anything, really. And I've just done this in a tray, just a tray that's about that high, and it's A3. I can put 2 of these together. Okay, so just a tray, and you can lay them side by side. And what's really great about the tray method is I got all these papers and a few others, but they were just more kind of mop-up papers. But I got all of this. All of that was done with just this tray. Because you layer and layer and layer and layer. But yeah, everyone, that's how you get that faded and frayed. You make sure you're sandwiching it, and then you can start your next image once you've done that. So there'll be the plain paper, but each time you lay it down, you need to apply your coffee mix into it. You can use a spray, you can use, you can dip it into a tray and put it here. You can use like a squirter, or just paper towel that you dip into something. There's just so many uses and ways of approaching it. But yeah, check out the tutorial. That's for the Faded and Frayed method. Okay, my voice is running out. I'm running out of volume. Sorry, it's breaking. My voice is breaking. Okay, so now, say for example, you have got tracing paper and you've already got your inkjet papers printed that are going to be a potential for the Faded and Frayed. So you'll have your laser for your foiling, and now you have this. So that's what's really great about this kit, is you'll be able to have papers like this, and you'll have your foiled images as well. And then you can intermingle them for whatever purpose you require. So you now probably would like to do the tracing paper. Well, basically it's exactly the same, but obviously you're going to need to speak with the office supply people and say, can I please use this printer, laser scanner, to print my images onto tracing paper? So see what they say. They might provide it for you. They might have to do it for you. Always ask for a quote. If for some reason they don't want you to do it, and they can do it for you, so that you can get an idea of how much they might charge you. But if you've got a friend and they don't mind you using tracing paper, as long as the sheet is nice and flat, yeah, just experiment with it. Sometimes some printers don't pick up tracing paper, which is a shame. I know my husband's Epson one doesn't pick up tracing paper at all, so you might need to sort of maybe have another sheet attached to it underneath. I don't know. It's something you'll need to experiment with. But yeah, so you could ring them up and say, hey, I want to print on tracing paper. How much would it cost? Do you allow for that service? Do I bring my own papers, or do you provide the tracing paper? Mine that I'm using is 890 GSM. I want to print images on it with your laser black and white laser scanner printers. Yeah, so you might want to ring them up first and get an idea, or talk it through it with somebody that works there. Okay, and then if you've got coloured paper to create these effects, so you can take the coloured paper in, and you've printed them out. So these will be listed below when this video is uploaded, because these kits are almost ready to go. Yeah, beautiful colours, really great for anything that's coloured theme, like an ocean kind of theme, nautical. I don't know if you've got a favourite colour and you just want to use the many hues of one colour. But for the boho gypsy look, these are fantastic. Great for mixed media projects as well, and collaging. So what I would recommend that you do is you print these out and you put that through the feeder. So if you're having trouble with that, talk to one of the people that work there, so that you can feed them through. And then what do? You get your inkjet printed pieces, you scan it, and then print, and these will come up. And you might need to turn them around and then print again. And so you'll have a black and white image on here, and then when you go home you can laminate it and get something really pretty like this. Okay, so that's how you can use your overlays. You can also take in your pieces that are already decorative. Just make sure you pick a strategically placed overlay of the silhouette kit. It'll look ghastly, by the way, when you do the black and white. You go, oh my goodness, it looks terrible. But don't worry, if it's laser, it's a proper laser one, you'll be able to go home, put whatever color foil on there, as long as it's heat activated, heat reactive, and away you go. You'll have something really pretty to enjoy. Okay, I think that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really grateful that you could join with me on this instructional video, not introduction video. I can't believe I was saying that. I tell you what, I don't know where my brain goes sometimes. As soon as I put the camera on, that's it. I go nervous, I forget everything. I have to deal with outside traffic with loud cars going by, and I have to pause. Then I don't remember what I'm saying. I do apologize if I'm all over the place, but I have done this video, this instructional video, so many times, but each time when I go through it to edit it, I go, nah, I'm going to have to do that again. So this I hope is my last and final attempt. I hope I've done a good job. But yeah, so everyone, yeah, I hope I haven't forgotten anything. Please leave your questions below, if just in case I have forgotten. But please be assured there are videos coming so that you can see how we construct things. They're very basic for those of you that have been journaling for a while, but for those that are new and need a bit of support, I'll have them available. But I think I've given you everything that you need to know for now. Boy, I'm going to kick myself if I've forgotten something, but I might try and add it on if need be. But other than that, everything, oops, I keep bumping into this here. Everything will be listed below that I've mentioned. The only thing that I won't have listed is the elements that I've purchased. The foiling, it's just a matter of you going through eBay or Amazon or online craft shops and just typing in heat activated or heat reactive foil, gold press foil, I think, or I don't know. Just type that in and it should let you know that that is for a heat machine or a laminator or something similar. It might not say iron or hair straightener, it might say the machine, but yeah, a laminator will work. And the date today is the 2nd of January 2022. Wow. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Everything's below if you need it. The kit's a link below if you're interested. I really appreciate your support. If you're new, please subscribe and join us on this beautiful journey of discovery and illumination and all sorts of other things that I've got up my sleeve for you guys. So many projects that I can't wait to share. And please share this video with others who might be looking for something a bit different or want something special or unique. My voice is going, I'm so sorry. It's just normal for me, but I hope you're all well. Please stay safe, and thanks again for being so wonderful. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Bye.